And we continue at 1:05 in the afternoon on the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wang's in Culver City.
We got a ton of emails about that last segment. Alan writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com on the Rose Bowl lawsuit. Why did her wimpy fiancé not stop this beating? Why did he who spilled the drink not take on the beater? Very good questions.
Maybe he was into the music.
I have no evidence except for my own personal experience, my lived experience going to concerts like this 15 years ago. I think he was so zonked out on E, and that's why he spilled the drink to begin with, and why he did not intervene when his fiancée was getting beat up for 10 minutes.
That's very possible, Randy. Very possible. And did you see listener Susan went through and wrote down my depiction of what possibly happened?
Hey, who spilled the drink? They pointed at each other. The boyfriend put on glasses. You wouldn't hit a guy with glasses, would you?
I think that's how it went down. What are you going to do? We all saw the video, but unfortunately, I couldn't make out the audio. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. It is our pleasure to welcome our next guest to the program. She is the Real Clear Politics national political correspondent and the author of Fool's Gold, the radicals, con artists, and traitors who killed the California dream and now threaten us all. Available online at Amazon.com. You can follow her on X at Susan Crabtree. Susan Crabtree, welcome.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on again.
Well, thanks for stopping by. So yesterday, there was a bombshell story up in Northern California. KGO went through the travel records of California's insurance commissioner, Ricardo Lara. And we have long known that this guy goes on every junket known to man. But what we didn't know was that he went on even more junkets since the last report on him traveling around the world in first-class accommodations instead of sticking around in California and doing his job. Doing his job, regulating an industry that is currently in crisis here, where any number of companies, including State Farm, have left the state. They're no longer selling policies here. We know that many of the fire victims in Pacific Palisades and Altadena, they're having a very difficult time getting the insurance companies to follow the contracts, the written contracts that they have with their customers, and pay them the money that they deserve so they could put their lives back together. They complain that when they call the California Department of Insurance, their calls fall on deaf ears. Well, now we know why. He's not here doing his job. He is traveling around the world, checking off every destination on his bucket list. What's crazy is that while he is a duly elected official, and ultimately the people of California are to blame for putting an unqualified grifter in that office, it was Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, who, when pressed on the insurance crisis here in California, delegated the responsibility of fixing it to none other than Ricardo Lara. This happened after we already figured out what he was spending his time on, and certainly not spending his time on his day job. I can't imagine that this story, which is now going national, it started out as a local story here in California, but I noticed last night it went all over the place. I can't imagine that stories like this won't reflect poorly on Gavin Newsom as he tries to become a national figure. Your thoughts?
My thoughts are that Gavin Newsom, the Democrats are so desperate because their poll numbers are in the tank, and they're just grasping at straws. So they're trying to promote Gavin Newsom because he's the only one that seems to have any fight left in him, and he's taken the fight, how obnoxious it is, on his social media directly to Trump and to his administration, to the effect of creating a Secret Service investigation last weekend when his influencers that we paid, they use our taxpayer dollars to pay for, threatened Kristi Noem, saying she's going to have a very bad day. And then the other day, they called Stephen Miller a fascist, just point blank, similar to, what many believe was fueling the Charlie Kirk assassination attempt. So, this doesn't surprise me one bit. There is no accountability in California. I was just talking about this moments ago in an interview I was having about they're trying to eliminate the independent commission, the Citizens Commission for Prop 50, a huge Gavin Newsom power grab. And who do you go to that's not independent in California in this one-party system to provide any accountability for the insurance commissioner and his 48 taxpayer-funded trips to LGBTQ plus conferences when he's supposed to be doing his job and solving California's insurance crisis in the middle of, the state is on fire and people are getting murdered. PG&E was found guilty of manslaughter. So you have a situation going on for years in California. This is not just like, it was in response to the Palisades fire and the Altadena fires. The issue with the insurance problems has been going on for years in response to neglect from the government and in being in bed with the utility companies and not getting the brush under control, all of the above. But you have this lack of complete accountability because we have a one-party system in California, and now they want to wipe out the only independent ability to provide any kind of way to represent the people in their congressional districts as well.
It seems like they are of the belief that they can do anything that they want, and that there are no rules. Because one of the stories about Ricardo Lara's travels involved a trip that he took down to Colombia, where, Randy, I think the cab fare that he listed was for over what, $7,000?
$7,000 on taxis.
So we had a listener who lives in South America or Central America who hit us up, who travels to Colombia, and said that it is impossible to spend $7,000 on cab fare in 5 days. And I assume that he picked a hotel that's somewhere near the conference that he was attending. So it's not like you're traveling from, LA to San Francisco every single morning, because that's where your hotel is. Clearly, there are questions around some of these expenses that he put on these forms that make no sense. We had a former FBI investigator call into yesterday's program who said, that's fraud. I've seen this go on a million times. He broke the law here, and here. It's just you need to find someone who's willing to blow the whistle. And the reality is, in a one-party state, the state that we live in, the state of California, no one is afraid of Rob Bonta, who is Gavin Newsom's chosen attorney general, because he comes from the same cloth that the rest of them come from, and they just believe that he's going to look the other way. And so far, they've all been correct.
That's absolutely correct. And it's even worse than that. So there is this thing called the Fair Political Practices Commission in California, which I used to cover in Congress. A similar entity was the Congressional Ethics Office, right? So you're supposed to be able to lodge complaints, citizen complaints. Political legislatures can lodge complaints of elected officials, and that entity, which only it hires about 5 people, 5 investigators total, to monitor like 3,000 elections a cycle across the state. But they're supposed to be, the police, basically, the watchdog. Well, guess what? I had to bug them about this thing. It's in my book, Fool's Gold. I had to badger them 4 years after the fact on whether they were going to conclude an investigation into this Chinese party official that Gavin Newsom hired to run the pension program for government employees managing their money. And he was the highest paid government official across the state. 4 years later, they still hadn't come to a conclusion in that. And they finally did after I kept badgering them, and they provided a $10,000 fine and a slap on the wrist. And who knows if they would have ever come up with that if I hadn't been bugging them for an answer about it. It's this type of thing that makes California look like a joke to the nation. Like we're a third world country and we're operating in such a corrupt style. That's why I wrote the book. Everybody knows about the failed policies of California. What they don't know and what we still needs to be uncovered, we had to limit the book. It was so much material to work with. Is the corruption at the heart of the problems of California. You have, Elon Musk talking about that yesterday with the homelessness and the NGOs getting about $1 million per homeless person. So why do you want to solve the problem? Now, I don't know if that's an exaggeration, but there's a kernel of definite truth there because you don't see where the money's going. No accountability for $24 billion, probably way more than that, but that's how much they've tracked, that's gone down the drain on homelessness. So why are we surprised when the insurance commissioner is in a grift? It's a complete grift, and he should have already been thrown out of office. The first story 6 months ago when that came out. Why is Gavin Newsom not pushing his own appointee out of that job? It's absolutely appalling, and the citizens of California should be rising up in anger over the situation. And I'm so glad you're bringing attention to it. It is becoming national news, and it is egregious misuse of government funds. But the worst one is the $284 million that we're paying for a special election to boost Gavin Newsom's own viability for 2028, his own White House run, when it's just a complete and utter power grab.
What do you think Gavin's going to do these last 2 years? And I say that because I think he's done with California. I think he's been done with California. He doesn't see himself as a state or local elected official. He sees himself as a national figure. And he sees many of the problems that we're dealing with in California as being beneath him, as being an anchor that's tied around his neck. He wants to talk about Donald Trump. He wants to talk about control of Congress. He wants to talk about what Texas is doing or what Florida is doing. He doesn't want to talk about our insurance crisis. He doesn't want to talk about what's going on with homelessness or crime or fires or the budget or anything else. He pretends like those things don't exist. What's crazy to me is that when Donald Trump puts out a mean tweet, every Republican in Washington is asked to respond to that tweet. Yet Gavin Newsom delegated our insurance crisis to Ricardo Lara, who appears to be participating in criminal activities, alleged criminal activities, and no one asks him about it. It's not something that he gets peppered with questions about every time he has a press avail. And I just don't understand why that doesn't happen, because it's not like he's just some random person. This is the one Gavin Newsom chose to deal with what is arguably a top 3 crisis in the state that he's been elected to govern. And it's like they don't know each other.
Yeah. Well, this kind of behavior of him appointing unaccountable people and corrupt people, it goes back to his days as San Francisco mayor. We have it all in the book. The head of his housing authority was accused of bribes. There were Chinese government officials, CCP officials that Gavin Newsom brought into the California realm and encouraged them to buy up real estate here, made it easier for them, said he was going to basically smooth the permitting process for them, and they had to go through this one housing authority guy. Well, guess what? They were found guilty, these Chinese real estate tycoons, of bribing Gavin Newsom's his appointed housing authority guy. So why is this any big surprise? This has been going on for years. We have dozens of people in our book that Gavin Newsom either appointed or a part of his different administrations when he climbed the political ladder from San Francisco that have been involved either on major ethics issues or serious, they have been convicted of crimes. So that was just one vignette. So what does he want to do? He wants to be the presidential nominee for the Democratic Party. If he's successful, he wants to turn California, the nation, into California. He wants to. He says he's moderate on the trans issues in sports. He's done nothing to solve that problem in California, as we know, and he will export all of his failed policies in California to the nation. And that's one of the reasons why we wrote the book with Peter Schweitzer and the Government Accountability Institute, a wonderful investigative journalist. He lent his research help to our book and his top research director because he is concerned in Tallahassee, Florida, where they work, that it's going to affect the entire nation. So it's a huge flashing warning sign that Gavin Newsom's only performative. That's what he does in his life. He was performative. He has had everything handed to him on a silver platter, whether it's the San Francisco mayorship, which was brought on by Willie Brown, his mentor with Kamala Harris is also more than her mentor, personal relationship there. And he doesn't think he has to do anything to fix California for him to propel himself into the White House. It's all just a game to him. Like, how much power can he grab? He doesn't have to fix one thing. I mean, as we point out in the book, he faked his way into Santa Clara University. He said he won we call it Field of Schemes. He said he won a baseball scholarship. He can only show $500 of a scholarship, and that he's never been on the official roster of the official baseball team there. It was his daddy's connections the whole time, with the Getty money fueling his rise the entire time. So this should come as no surprise. The sad thing about it is, what are we going to do after Gavin Newsom? The state of California is in complete disrepair over his time in office. And how are we going to fix things after he rides his wave, a national wave of politics, whether the next move, if he doesn't succeed, will be the Senate, or he's not going to come back and fix California problems. He's not interested in that. Otherwise, he would have already done it.
Last question before you go. We have about 60 seconds left. We know that he came up through the ranks at the same time as Kamala Harris. She just wrote a book where she said that after Joe Biden dropped out and she was going to declare herself as a candidate for the presidency, she called Gavin Newsom. He sent her a voicemail and then sent her a text message that said, "I'm hiking, I'll call you back," and he never did. In another instance, he said, and this was on his podcast with Marshawn Lynch, he said that he was on the treadmill when she called, and that's when he sent her a voicemail. I can't imagine her putting that anecdote in the book unless she wanted to stick the knife in. What kind of relationship do those two have right now?
To call it frenemies is being gracious. They have always had, their eye on each other, and not in a good way. They were rivals, and it's almost like a sibling rivalry because they are so close, and they had the same mentor in Willie Brown, and some of the same families are supporting them, wealthy families in San Francisco, including the Pritzkers, which, he's on the outs with J.B. Pritzker now. Nobody at the Governors Association, Democratic Governors Association, from what I could gather, likes Gavin Newsom. But the Kamala and Gavin relationship is one of enmity. I mean, they do not like each other. I've heard about one time when Gavin Newsom was being put on a list of top up-and-coming young politicians. Kamala was very angry that Gavin Newsom was included on that list, and she was basically bad-mouthing that his inclusion all over a Democratic convention several years ago. It's the fact that they are now. You could see what was on display with Gavin Newsom, sort of the sarcasm when on a podcast he was on at the Democratic convention last year, where he was saying, "Oh, I'm supposed to say this was a Democratic."
Yeah, I remember that
Democratic process, right?
Susan, we're out of time. We got to run. The book is Fool's Gold, the radicals, con artists, and traitors who killed the California dream and now threaten us all. Available online at Amazon.com. Susan Crabtree, thanks so much for stopping by.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right, Randy, it's time to open up the California Crime Blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
Let's learn more about that stolen Rolex.
This time it happened at a Studio City gym. And we're not talking about a cheap one either. This happened at an Equinox.
What do they charge for a monthly membership fee there?
Oh, that's a very good question. Let's see. Studio City Equinox monthly cost. Come on,
it's got to
Google.
be north of $200.
Let's see. Studio City. Yeah, it's $325 a month, according to a Yelp review.
That's outrageous for a gym.
Well, it's not just a gym. It's a meat market.
I think that's why people pay the insane rates to go there. You're hoping to meet a spouse.
You can get a Peloton, and the membership is like $40 a month. If you're going to a big fancy gym like that, it's because you think you're going to hook up.
Yeah, if you have a Peloton, that serves a dual purpose, too. You have a piece of exercise equipment, and you have something to hang your clothes on.
For more on the Studio City Rolex robbery, here's NBC4 in Los Angeles.
Begin at 6 tonight with a new warning before you head out to the gym. Thieves are stealing your belongings from the locker room.
Why are you taking a Rolex to the gym?
Because you're looking for a spouse.
Good evening once again, everyone. I'm Colleen Williams.
And I'm Michael Brownlee, the LA.
That is very much just a pickup move.
I just happened to wear my Rolex to the gym. Forgetful me.
Good evening once again, everyone. I'm Colleen Williams.
And I'm Michael Brownlee. The LAPD is exclusively revealing to NBC4 Investigates that some gyms in the San Fernando Valley are seeing an increase in thefts.
NBC4's Alex.
Is it happening at the Y?
Probably. They're just not stealing Rolexes there. If they steal a Timex, that doesn't make the news.
Gyms in the San Fernando Valley are seeing an increase in thefts.
NBC4's Alex Rozier has more on what's going on, all new tonight at 6.
Colleen and Michael, today we are hearing from one man who said he had his Rolex stolen from this Equinox in Studio City, but detectives warn that this...
Is it ever possible that we've had a situation where the victim of crime is reporting what happened to him and everything is a humble brag?
It might be the case here.
I can't believe this. My Rolex got stolen at Equinox.
How great would it be if it's a Rolex that he bought in Ensenada, right outside of La Bufadora? Rolecks, Rolex.
But detectives warn that this type of theft is happening at gyms across Southern California.
Darius Hicks has been a member at Equinox for the past 10 years.
This gym is like,
Well, let's just do a little math here. If that Yelp review is accurate, and there's no reason to think that it's not, let's say that he's paying, let's give him a discount, $300 a month, 12 months a year, 10 years. This guy has spent $36,000 on Equinox.
And he's still single?
This gym is like, it's my home. I feel safe. It's a sanctuary.
But on September 19th, he said he was at Equinox in Studio City when his $20,000 Rolex was stolen in the locker room after his workout.
I put it inside my locker. I locked my locker. I went in to take a shower and steam.
If you're going to put a $20,000 watch in a locker, you better make sure you have a $20,000 lock.
Well, as we've learned from previous blotter stories, locks and safes aren't necessarily sure ways to keep your stuff from being stolen.
I locked my locker. I went in to take a shower and steam. About 15 minutes or so passed by. Came back out of the shower, opened my locker up to find my watch gone.
Now he's desperately trying to get his watch back that he bought with a friend who died.
One of my closest friends, he died at about age 36 years old. So we had matching watches.
That's a little weird.
That is very strange.
LAPD said similar thefts are happening at gyms across Southern California. Lieutenant Ryan Lee is the detective commanding officer at the North Hollywood station.
We have seen an escalation of property thefts within the gym.
LAPD says thieves are stealing jewelry, bags, wallets, keys, cell phones, and more.
Some of our victims aren't securing their belongings in locked spaces. We're also seeing...
So what is Equinox saying here? That this guy didn't lock the locker?
Wait, play that again.
I've seen an escalation of property thefts within the gym.
LAPD says thieves are stealing jewelry, bags, wallets, keys, cell phones, and more.
Some of our victims aren't securing their belongings in locked spaces. We're also seeing...
So he put it in a locker. What they're alleging is that people put their valuable items, I'm assuming wallets, watches, car keys, things of that nature, maybe cell phones, in lockers without locking them.
That's what this LAPD sergeant is saying happens in some cases. Is that what happened with Rolex guy? We don't know. Why he brought the Rolex to Equinox? We don't know.
Some of our victims aren't securing their belongings in locked spaces. We're also seeing in these secure spaces, in the locker rooms, that some of the locks are being compromised.
Lieutenant Lee said he...
Did they find out his combination?
Inquiring minds want to know.
Lieutenant Lee said he thinks this is a crime of opportunity. Right now, he said they have no evidence that the same people or groups are targeting these gyms.
And I got to imagine you don't have security camera footage of the changing room.
No. People coming out of the shower in the steam room. Can you imagine if you had surveillance cameras in there?
And there's always one guy. It doesn't matter what gym it is. There's one guy who has no need for a towel.
Well, some can't fit it around the circumference.
What's your message to the community?
You know, our message to the community is...
It's usually the ones that want to do the leg stretches on the bench.
You know, our message to the community is help us maintain these safe spaces. Our hope is that by educating the public to make sure that they are locking and securing their valuables.
Or not bringing them to a gym.
Why would you do that? I get it if you're going out up for a night on the town, you're going to a nice restaurant, you're going to the theater, something of that nature. But if you're just going to get on the exercise bike, why do you need a Rolex?
If you're using the Rolex because you're looking to pick up men or women or both at this Equinox, then wouldn't you have it on you at all times?
Wait, so you're doing bicep curls wearing a Rolex?
Isn't that the whole point?
You're showing off the bicep and the watch.
No one buys a Rolex because it tells time.
That we can protect those community spaces.
2 weeks after his watch was stolen, Darius is still trying to get it back.
I'm offering a $10,000 reward.
It's worth $20,000.
Yeah, who's going to take that deal?
Today, Equinox said in a statement, quote,
by the way, yet another humble brag. He's offering $10,000.
Something's fishy about this.
This guy who, again, he's the victim of a crime. It's not like this is his fault. So we're not here to blame him. But this guy has let us know several different ways in this news story, I have a lot of money.
Okay. I'm going to have to be very careful how I describe this. But someone I know works for an airline that has a lot of flights to Central America, Latin America, that world. And there is a flight attendant for this particular airline who makes Liberace look butch. We're talking platinum blonde hair. We're talking costume jewelry on every single finger. In some cases, multiple pieces on each digit. And this individual likes flashy cars, likes flashy jewelry, likes to flash cash and talk trash. And this individual, during one of the stops in Latin America, got kidnapped and held for ransom. I know that sounds shocking, but that's what happened. And then the airline paid the ransom, and then they got him back. So the guy goes back on the line, traumatized, but needs to go back to work. You fall off the horse, you get right back on. Didn't change anything with how he dresses or what kind of jewelry he wears. Takes another trip to Latin America. Gets kidnapped and held for ransom a second time. And the airline went to his family and said, the contract says we only pay it once. That's on you. The family pays the ransom. Now he's back out of the trunk of the car and back in these United States. And he's flying on the line and still has not changed how he dresses or what kind of jewels he wears when he goes to Latin America. It is only a matter of time before he becomes an AP story. Some people never learn their lesson.
Today, Equinox said in a statement, quote, "We take the security of our members' property very seriously."
Well, you should if he's paying $325 a month.
Oh, yeah. Concierge service.
And are assisting law enforcement following this recent incident.
I felt extremely violent.
By the way, that's a very controlled environment. I mean, who stole the watch? It has to either be another member, an employee, or someone with one of those 7-day free trials.
Yeah, it's a small population. And you may not have cameras in the locker room, but I guarantee you have cameras at the door, and maybe you have cameras at the door of the locker room.
I felt extremely violated as a person.
Now Darius wants you...
Was that before or after the steam?
Now Darius wants you to be alert so your property isn't stolen too.
I didn't realize, if anybody was looking over my shoulder, if someone was watching me. I just think that my message to the community is to, look right, look left, be aware. The watch is more sentimental to me than anything. So I would really, really greatly appreciate it if I can get my watch back at any point.
It's gone, buddy.
You're never seeing that watch again.
LAPD wants to remind people tonight to get a secure lock to use at the gym and, if possible, leave your valuables at home. And
I had a feeling that was coming. But you know what? I think the LAPD is totally right in this. Why are you bringing $20,000 pieces of jewelry with you to a gym?
No, a gym is where you wear your comfortable, ratty clothes because you're just going to sweat in it.
Wait, that's what I wear to the radio station.
Possible, leave your valuables at home. And they also say at any point, if you see something suspicious, notify the gym right away. And if necessary, call the police. We're live in Studio City. I'm Alex Rozier, NBC4 News.
So there you go. The second Rolex theft in the Valley in a week. The first one was at a gas station in Sherman Oaks, and this one was at the gym locker room at the Equinox in Studio City.
If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
Stephen Redondo Beach writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. Hey guys, a cigar smoking buddy of mine had his Rolex stolen from a gym locker. When we found out, he became the object of ridicule as we all smoked.
Yeah, that's something you don't want to have happen to you. But there's a real easy way to make sure it doesn't happen. Don't wear a Rolex to the gym. What's next? He's going to wear it to Tijuana? Let's go to Sherry in L.A. Sherry, hello.
Hi there. How are you?
Good.
So I belong to Equinox. I get there at 6 in the morning, so I have my stuff with me for work, which includes a wallet and a little jewelry, because I don't wear jewelry anymore. You get killed here. But at Equinox, you have two choices. You can leave it in your car, where your car can get broken into and stolen, or you can take it in with you and hope that no one's watching your locker, because they turned the lockers into a combo locker. You cannot put a lock on the locker. You can't take your own lock. So you have to use their lock. So your choices are leave it in your car and get broken into where the homeless live, or take it with you.
Now, how closely do they watch the door there? Do they let people in regularly who are not members?
No. The front desk, you have to check in. But if you're not a member and you have like you said, a guest pass, or your friend said you could use it, I think I could get in pretty easily. But if you're a member, you walk in automatically and it scans your phone app. And in the men's locker room, you forgot about the guy who has to not only not wear a towel, but put his leg up on the counter and blow dry his private parts.
I'm so glad you said dry.
Well, here's the thing, and this is my theory, and tell me if you think I'm wrong. If people are paying $350 a month or whatever it is that they're charging to be a member there, my guess is they don't have to pick locks to make a living and to pay their rent. This sounds like an inside job to me. This sounds like someone who knows that this guy wears a Rolex on a regular basis, knows what part of the locker room he puts his stuff in, kept an eye on him, and knows how to get in there. Because I would imagine if you use their locks, they have to have a mechanism to get into that locker if you forget the code or if something happens where you can't get to your stuff. I think this could potentially be an inside job.
Yes, it could, because the locker room workers do have a key to get into that lock.
Well, there you go. That's my guess.
And the employee knew that the victim here was distracted?
Yeah, I mean, if you work there, you know everyone's patterns. You know that this caller comes in the morning and is going to work afterwards because she's dressed like someone who's going to an office. You know who the stay-at-home moms are. You know who the people who come at night are. You know who has money. You know who's pretending to have money. You keep an eye on these things. And my guess is this guy was a target and someone was following him or someone was monitoring his moves. And the moment they knew he was going to be gone, they pounced.